Hi, my name is Jimmy Williams with NFL Draft Diamonds. Here with me today, I have a diamond in the rough I'd like you guys to meet. This here is Derek Anderson, tight end out of Northern Iowa. Nice to meet you today, sir.
Nice to meet you too.
Hey, wanted to get a chance to meet you. I mean, we're actually looking at one of the top FCS tight ends this season, and again, coming out of you and I, we know we're getting a tough, gritty player. So, Derek, go ahead and introduce yourself so we can get started.
Yeah, so I'm Derek Anderson, tight end at UNI. I think one big thing about me is, I've kind of got a unique story a little bit of how I came to where I'm at now. I was a high school quarterback and safety. I had never played in the trenches before. I wrestled, and that's kind of what got me a little bit of interest was just the fact that I wrestled in the frame and things. And I came in here as a walk-on. I didn't have, I joke I didn't even have a 24/7 profile. I was so off the map. And I was an undersized guy that nobody was really expecting anything from. So it was, for me, a big time to, hey, what was I going to do with the opportunity to be here? And that involved, a lot of time in the weight room trying to gain weight, a lot of time with Coach Jed Smith, doing whatever I could to get bigger, faster, stronger. And I had position changes throughout the years. I go from defensive end to defensive tackle to then all of a sudden, I get up to 270 to play D tackle, and then I'm flipped to tight end the next day after I'm 270. So now it's cut weight back down, get back to tight end weight, try to get faster. Um, and then, last year I got the opportunity because of that to play a little bit of both sides. I got to play tight end, I got to play defensive end, and that's kind of something when you're a little kid you dream about. You never think it's going to happen, and all of a sudden it did for me. And I think that taught me a lot about myself, both from a mental standpoint and a physical standpoint of, what I could push my body to, what I could comprehend from a football standpoint of installs and watching film and all those kinds of things. And so now I'm really getting to see this year is just a tight end, the fruits of kind of that labor that I get to see 4 years of hard work and get to just show it off this season. And so that's what I'm really excited to do.
Cool. So maybe I should have introduced you as just an athlete. I think that just kind of covers all the bases there. But kind of wanted to at least recap some of what you had already mentioned about you in your earlier days, and then we'll talk about you and I. So as you had mentioned, mostly high school quarterback, but I kind of want to take it as far back as we possibly can. How long have you played football?
Yeah, so I've played tackle football since the third grade. That's when I started out in the trenches. I was an offensive lineman back in the day. And I remember, I think I was probably a fifth grader and I got moved to running back. And I came home and I told my dad that. And I think he laughed at me the first time I told him because he thought I was joking. I was just a no lineman to him. And, then I got a chance to play a little bit of running back. And then all of a sudden, junior high, that became quarterback and on through the rest. So, kind of a funny start, I guess, to the way it all began.
Cool. So, attended Hinton High School there in Sioux City, Iowa. And again, mostly quarterbacks and safety and whatever. But in addition to that, have a background in wrestling as well as some track and field. Um, uh, Give me maybe one of your most fondest memories from your high school days, whether it be in football or one of these other sports.
Yeah, so probably one of my favorite memories is, going back to wrestling actually. So my junior year, I kind of had a little bit of an up and down year towards the end of the year. I kind of bounced in and out of the rankings throughout the year. And right at the end of the state tournament, I got a couple big wins leading into the state tournament. And then I remember so the way seeding worked out, I ended up getting the fourth seed. And I was a guy that had just been bounced out of the rankings the week before. So it was kind of, this big, huge thing was how did I get the seed in that. And I remember that vividly because I remember going into that tournament with kind of that same mindset. I think I've carried a lot since is like, okay, I've got something to prove and I'm going to show it to everybody. And so I had a really good tournament, ended up coming out with third place and went to sudden victory with the state champion. And, even though I didn't end up winning it and, losing that sudden victory match, just being in that match and being on that stage and, Iowa high school wrestling's a pretty big deal. There's a lot of people there, it gets exciting. And I think just from that moment, it really taught me a lot about myself right away of like, hey, I'm able to do it when I put my mind to it. So
Cool. And yeah, I mean, as you had mentioned, like in Iowa, wrestling is, a big deal. And I do believe that you and I, along with a lot of other, teams, that's one of the things that they recruit. They recruit wrestlers to come in and play because they know that they are gritty, tough ass guys who can go out there and get it done. And again, at the very beginning, I don't know exactly what they wanted to do with you, but of course they decided to recruit you. Was it always going to be you and I? I mean, again, just kind of talking about the recruiting, like were they just kind of the one who really pursued you the most, or again, you were a walk on, so did you have other options or what?
Yeah, so honestly, most of my recruiting really was Division II levels. I had a lot, like you said, the fact that I played quarterback is kind of in, but my body frame was this guy's really a defensive end or tight end type of body. A lot of people weren't really sure what to do with that. And so honestly, I'd kind of plug wrestling for giving me that shot because a lot of people talked about, well, like we can see you understand leverage and the physicality and those kinds of things, and that might translate. And so I really just had D2 offers. I was until you and I offered me a walk on, I was going to play defensive end at Sioux Falls, the University of Sioux Falls, and that was my plan until late. So you and I was really the one Division I that gave me a shot, and I decided, I just wanted to take the highest shot I got an opportunity at and see what happened. So that's kind of how that went.
Great. And of course, you end up there at UNI. And for what most people have a good understanding of, as I'd mentioned, I mean, tough, hard-nosed, gritty type of players that end up there. For you in particular, just kind of want to get your take on UNI, just kind of as a student before we get to the field. Talk about what it means to be, part of UNI, part of, that institution. What makes it special for you?
Yeah, I think, like you talked about, that kind of gritty blue collar mentality is kind of carried around campus here. Like it's really a campus where they encourage, if you're willing to put your nose to the grindstone and do the work, like you can do whatever you want to do with it. And so, I came in, obviously I was a walk-on for football, so I needed to have some academic plans too, because I didn't know what was going to happen from a football perspective. And, I came in, I was in the pre-law program, did things with sports psychology, all that kind of stuff. And I had professors that kind of warned me right away, like, hey, this is going to be tough, but if you're willing to do it, like, we'll help you out. We'll get through it. And I had great professors that helped me along the way. And, I got the chance now. I'm in my master's. I'm getting my master's in sports performance. So kind of combining that sports psychology and the strength conditioning side of things. And, a lot of professors have just helped me a lot along the way. And it's awesome because I get to see them in the classroom and they come watch me on Saturdays and support me in that way. And that kind of just family oriented campus is all around. And so it's been a lot of fun to be both a student and an athlete here.
Gotcha. Again, just kind of wanted to talk about you and your background as a football player. As we've kind of established, I mean, you've played all over, right? And so we are looking at you as a tight end, more or less moving forward. I suppose it is possible for a team to want you to come in and maybe be like an emergency defensive player. That's certainly a possibility, right? But again, mostly we're looking at you as a tight end. And the one thing that I've always known about you and I isn't necessarily about the tight end, but he is kind of part of it too. And that is that you guys have always had these tough people on the offensive line just completely dominating. And I would imagine during your time there that, the Pennings, had to have rubbed off at least a little bit on you and your development. So talk about, you being a part of the offense there.
Yeah. So it really is a place that the mentality is we're going to be tough and we're going to be physical. And no matter what the score is at the end of the day, you're going to know that you got in a fist fight all day long. And that's kind of the mentality that's preached from the day you showed up. Like I said, I started out as a defensive lineman. So I got to learn under guys like Jared Brinkman and Caden Hofftelling and those kind of guys that it's the same mentality in the D line. They were going to punch you in the mouth. It was going to be a really physical brand of football. We were going to lift harder than anybody. We were going to work out harder than anybody all off season. So we're bigger, stronger, faster. And then that's the way we're going to play too. So getting to play alongside those guys, both on the defensive line and like you talked about the Pennings and those kind of guys in the offensive line, it's kind of just a mentality that's bred here is, hey, we're going to be really physical. You better be ready to stand up and play physical with us all day long. And that's the kind of brand of football we want to play. So,
The other thing that I've kind of known about you and I is, dude, their strength training is top notch. From the guys that I've spoken to about how they have been able to really mold these young recruits who come in into whatever they want them to be. And so these things don't necessarily happen overnight, but of course they took a hold of you and they tried their best to mold you into who they wanted. So, talk a little bit about the difference of you coming in as a freshman versus now.
Yeah. So I came in as a freshman. I'm sure strength staff probably looked at me and wasn't even sure what position I was going to play because I was this tall, skinny kid. I was probably about 200 pounds the day I walked through the door. I joked that I chugged a gallon of water before the day we weighed in so I could step on the scale at 210. And I was hyped as could be because I was eating and drinking all the water I could to get that. And, I wasn't very strong and I knew that. But Coach Jed Smith, he's great about it. He will tell you right away, hey, if you're willing to buy all into everything we give you, buy all into this program, you will get big, you will get strong. Don't care where you start from. And they show you the transformation pictures of the guys like the Trevor Pennings, that came in undersized and look at what they are now. And so I just really bought into that. That made me excited. That was a big part of me wanting to be here was that strength staff and what they did with guys because I knew that's what I needed to really get to compete at this level. So it was all the way back from, redshirt lifts as a freshman, being in that developmental lift early in the morning of just what can I take from this? How can I maximize it? What are the nutrition tips he's going to give? What are the extra lifts I can go to? And how can I do that? And then just throughout my career it was every year like, okay, what's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step? So it starts out as freshman me was lift as much as I could, eat as much as I could. I got to get mass. I got to get stronger to now in this last year. It's, hey, let's go to sand runs and work on the agility. Let's go to this to work on your conditioning so you can play a bunch of snaps. Let's, always looking for the next goal. What's the next thing to set me up? And I, give a lot to Coach Jed Smith for setting that up for us because he's a big reason why, guys from UNI get to have those opportunities.
Cool. I remember one story from you and I is you taking a guy like Spencer Brown and putting like at least 80 to 100 pounds on him. Again with his development. So, not saying that that's you, of course, but I mean, we're looking at today a guy who's what, like 260.
Yep, yep. I'm right in that 255, 260 range where I like to sit. I like to be in that weight because I think it helps me to move for the route running things I need to do, but still be the physical blocker that they ask me to be. So,
Cool. So, again, about 6'5", 260, a very respectable size for a tight end. And so you're able to go out there and compete with the best of them there in the Missouri Valley Conference. And so, uh, let's talk about, you know, really what you've been able to, I guess, do there, on the field. So, we've talked a lot about you and your versatility, but when we're looking at you as a tight end, is there anything additional about you as a player that we have yet to talk on? Any other comments about like some of your better attributes before we get to some of your highlights?
yeah. So for me, it's really, you know, going from playing defensive line at one point and then kind of doing the special teams work at tight end before getting to be in a role where I get to be the route running things. Like I still pride myself very much on the blocking. Like that's what I love to do. I love to be in a 3-point stance and I know the scheme is me versus the defensive end one on one and those are kind of the moments I live for even more than the route running stuff. I enjoy that. I enjoy that physical side of the game. So for me it's, I'll do the dirty work in the run block and I'll do the dirty work pass pro on special teams, those kind of things. And I find a way to enjoy that. Like I'm not going to just do it because I have to, but I really do enjoy those roles. So I think that's one thing that separates me. And then also just on the IQ side of the game of just, having played both sides of the ball and what that means from an understanding of the game of football and understanding defensive gap fits and coverage schemes and the way safeties are rolling and all that, not just seeing, in blinders what's right in front of me. And so it's helped me a lot where things like, I don't want to just know what route I have on this concept. I want to know, okay, what's quarterback's progression? What's his timing? How deep's his drop? When's he gonna get to me so I can know how to best set him up? So both that physical side of the game and then just trying to be a student of the game any way I can to try to elevate my game as best I can.
The one thing that I do want to say about you, Derek, is special teams is going to be your avenue, bro. Especially for a guy who's played all over the field. I know for a fact that I'm going to be I would be utilizing you a lot on special teams at the next level, whether it's as a blocker or as a guy who might be pursuing the kicker or something. I mean, I mean, you've had experience doing all of that. So it's going to really help, get you on the field at the next level because you have been able to, really be a key contributor in that way. And also, as we mentioned with you and your experience on both sides of the ball, high level IQ, man. And it's great the way things have developed for you. Starting to become a little bit more well rounded as a tight end. I think most people have viewed you mostly as a blocker. But some of that stuff is going to be changing this season. So I want to talk about some highlights. And one of the things obviously that's changed there for you and I is the coaching staff. Again, longtime head coach and Coach Farley. Um, all the respect in the world for him. Established a great program. And if we kind of want to, talk about 2024 before we get into this season, you guys did close out well. I mean, I know the record really wasn't all that good, but you closed out well, giving your head coach one last great performance. I believe it was against Indiana State, right? Any final lasting memories from that coaching staff before we get to this season?
Yeah, I think, like you touched on, that last game of the season was really big, especially for us guys that had spent 4 years with Farley, because, he was the guy that gave a lot of us a shot. Like I talked about earlier, you and I was kind of my one shot to play Division I football, and they were the ones that took that opportunity on me. And so, I felt like I owed a lot to Farley for giving me that shot and setting me up with that opportunity. So, when you think back to the mentality that he was able to set in our class, we've really taken that on of like that, like you talked about earlier, that gritty physical mentality, blue collar type of players. Like, we really want to hold that on for the next several staffs, and they've been, the staff has embraced that of for future years, that idea of, hey, we're still going to be the physical football team that Farley established us all as, that, we're going to come out and we're going to make sure that, no matter what the score is, you are in a fist fight and you're going to walk off the field feeling like that. So that's been probably my best memory of Farley. It was just that kind of culture that he was able to instill, and just the fact that, he did take a shot on me and being able to send him out the right way in that last game. So
Awesome. I mean, it had to be a great moment to close out in that fashion, of course, against a Missouri Valley opponent. This season, I think a lot's changed for you, and here's hoping that you're going to be put in more of a position where you can utilize your receiving skills because they haven't given you much opportunity in the past. Started out actually very strong this season as a receiver. Again, new head coach in Stepsis. And so you guys went out there up against Butler and you ended up, having a great day. So talk about it if you don't mind.
yeah, so it was a lot of fun with the new staff. They kind of, spring ball, everybody gets a little bit of a reset, and they don't have the 4 year history on everybody. So now you get a chance to kind of show what you're gonna be made of. And spring ball is a lot of fun because I think as an offense we kind of showed what our identity could be, and we showed ourselves what we could become. And for me personally, I think in spring is really when I was able to kind of start establishing that receiving game. They kind of said to me that, well, what everybody said about you was you were just a blocker guy, and now we're seeing you do the stuff in the route game, and this is exciting. And so then going into Butler, like I knew I was going to have a pretty good role, and especially moving forward as that kind of red zone type of threat in the red zone, just being a taller, bigger guy. And I think that kind of plays to my route game. I like to be a very physical route runner, similar to that kind of blocking style that I'd like to play with. So yeah, just really excited for that kind of role and what they're asking me to do, because it is so much expanded. I'm not just the guy in a 3-point stance to go down block on counter, but I'm going to split out wide and run corners and option routes and, be primary targets and things like that. And so it's really exciting. I think I'm going to keep getting to see the fruits of that this season. So,
Yeah, I mean, you had a receiving touchdown in that game. So, I mean,
yeah,
that's not something that we've seen too often from you. So,
yeah.
do you remember what that play was on? Like, what the call was?
Yeah, yeah. So we lined up, and I knew when the play call came down, I was going to be the primary read, especially depending on coverage. And we kind of lined up, and I knew the safety across me was man on man, and kind of looked back to try to give the quarterback that eye a little bit of like, hey, let's go, we got this. And so got a chance to run a nice stick nod route on that, be the first in the progression, and versus man to man, and you can't get any better than that. So just got to kind of run the route the way that we've practiced all spring, all fall camp, and quarterback Shet gave me a great football, so I was able to go up and get it, and it was pretty exciting. Open up the season with the opening touchdown in the final year. It was kind of a good way to get that touchdown. So
Cool. It certainly helps when you have a guy one on one on a safety and he bests him by at least, 5, 6 inches. And so, giving the quarterback a good target to throw to. Give a shout out to some of your teammates out there on your, on the Panthers. Who else there for you and I do we need to keep a lookout for this season?
yeah, so we've got a lot of guys that I think are doing really great things right now. We got a linebacking core right now, a couple fifth year seniors that they're actually my roommates. They're guys I came in with as a freshman. I've been great friends with since I was a freshman, and they're having a great season. Guys like Tucker Langenberg and Caleb Frazier, and what they're doing for the defensive side of the ball. They're kind of in that leadership role. They're the guys that everyone looks to, and they're also the guys that are in charge of, hey, when we need a momentum play, go make that play. And they've both taken that role on in a big way. They're the spark for us in a lot of ways on defense, and that's exciting to see. And then we have guys on offense like Tyson Kershaw at wide receiver and the things he's been able to do. Just a couple weeks ago versus Eastern Washington, I think he had 14 catches, like 150 yards receiving. Big explosive days. First play of the game, he takes it 80 yards to the house. That kind of senior guys that you're seeing that have put the work in for years, and now they're getting to see the fruits of that labor and the things they're doing for our team, both from a explosive on the field perspective, but also a leadership perspective. That's really important. So those are some guys I'd shout out for sure.
Cool. Definitely some great talent on offense and defense there. Appreciate you giving them some love. Want to get a chance to meet this guy right here in Derek Anderson. A little bit off the field. We've kind of spoken on some of it, but any fun facts, interesting, things about you that you want to share, whether it be your hobbies, special talents, or bro, anything you want to give me, I'll chit chat with you for a few minutes. So have at it.
Yeah, so not a lot of people know this about me, but did an interview with our media about a week ago where I let the cat out of the bag on this one, but did a lot of music in high school. I was in band and jazz band and choir, and that was something, it was kind of my secondary hobby to sports, was getting involved in that stuff. And that's the great part about being in a small school is you get to do a little bit of everything. And so I got to enjoy that. And played the drums in band, and so I got to be involved with pep band on basketball nights, and then go and wrestle myself the next night. And so that was kind of a fun seeing both sides of things, that both doing the music band side of things, but also getting to play all the sports and do all that. So
So, were you out there like on Friday nights, like in your in your jersey, doing drums? Like, did they pull you in doing that or what?
yeah, I never had to do that. We didn't have a marching band. We'd have the pep band and things, but they just stayed up in the stands to play from there. So I never did the all on the
Oh yeah,
same night, both football and band. I don't know how well I would have done with that. That's kind of tough to stay locked in and
yeah. That's
out
what I was saying. Like,
have
I don't know
time.
that
So
that sounds crazy, but all right,
yeah,
that's
no.
fine. Derek, have some fun, goofy questions to ask you. Again, this is just for fun as we, get to know a little bit of your personality. So play along if you don't mind.
All right.
Favorite flavor ice cream?
Ooh, I'm a mint chip guy all the way. I love mint ice cream. And my fiance makes fun of me because she hates mint. She says it tastes like toothpaste. So if I buy it, she gets annoyed. But that's my favorite all the way.
Um, if we are going a la mode, favorite cake or pie flavor?
Ooh. I'm just kind of a standard chocolate cake guy. My mom makes a fantastic chocolate sheet cake. That's always our request on birthdays, so I'm gonna stick with that.
Okay, that works. Uh, Perhaps favorite superhero?
Growing up, I was always a big Captain America guy. It's probably junior high or early junior high. I had a Captain America t-shirt, and those were all my favorite Marvel movies. I'm a big Marvel guy, so that'd
All
probably be
right.
who I'd have to say.
Okay, cool. Uh, you had mentioned again a bit of a music guy. I'm gonna put you on the spot, bro. It's karaoke night. What do you sing?
Ooh, that's a good question. Probably something Luke Combs, or actually, I'm gonna go different. I'm gonna go with Chicken Fried. That's good. That's a good karaoke song right there.
Some Dave. No, who is it again? Who sings that?
Um, Man, I'm terrible. I'm terrible with artists. I can't think
I
of the
know
name
who
off
it
the top of my
is.
head. Yeah,
I can hear the song,
yeah,
but
I can. Yeah,
I'm blanking on it.
and
Somebody's
it's
gonna
the.
end up getting on this thing and
Uh-huh.
telling us. So
Yeah.
um, it's all good, man. Um, anyways, kind of interesting here again. Sioux City, Iowa goes to Northern Iowa. What's the furthest place you've been from home?
Furthest. Well, last season we played in Hawaii, so that's by far my furthest. If it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for college football, I pretty much always stayed in the Midwest growing up. We didn't travel too far away, but last year going to Hawaii, that's number one.
I mean, I know you're engaged right now. I mean, maybe you could take the wife once it's all said and done back to Hawaii. That sound like a plan?
Yeah, yeah, it would be a great place. I was thinking that when I was out there, like this would
I'm
be
not putting
sweet
you
to
on the
come back
spot or
to.
nothing. I'm just saying, like, possibility.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Think about for the future.
yeah. No, no, I get
Yeah.
you. Of course, a guy who's played almost every single position on the field. Who are you a big fan of growing up? Like, was there a certain player who you idolized or something? Give me one of your favorite players at the next level.
Yeah. So I was a huge Broncos fan growing up. So, not necessarily my position or anything, but I was a huge Von Miller fan. And DeMarcus Ware too, watching those guys, play as edge rushers and the things they were able to do. They were exciting football players and made the big plays and big moments. And as a Broncos fan, that was kind of right in the heat of junior high and high school for me when they were really big time. So those were kind of my favorite players.
Well, Von Miller's still at it, man. So, I
Yeah.
mean, maybe if you get an opportunity to make it to the next level, maybe you can be in his locker room. I don't know how that would be, but that would certainly be
Yeah.
interesting. As we wrap things up again, Derek, tell everybody what we can expect from you for the rest of this season, and what do you bring to the table as a player? So, any final thoughts that you want to, tell scouts out there, any of the doubters about you and your ability? So, have at it, my friend.
Yeah, I think, if I was going to tell somebody what to look for going forward is really just, I'm kind of a guy that all I'm looking for is that opportunity. I've always been the guy that's kind of willing to do whatever it takes. I'm willing to do the dirty work in the blocking game as much as the receiving game. I'm willing to, I was the freshman that was going to all the lifts, asking the strength coach everything I possibly could, like just trying to be a student of the game however I could. And so that's kind of the way I've always carried myself. I've always been like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And I think that's kind of infectious for other people. I've seen, on our team now being in a leadership role of where, especially in my position room, but even outside of that, where other people have taken that on too, that's an infectious personality, a guy that's just willing to do the next thing, always looking for the next way to succeed. And so I think that's kind of, what we'll see going forward. So.
Cool. Well, Derek, I do feel like you bring a lot to the table. Your versatility is unmatched. I'll just say that. For a guy who can literally do almost everything on the field, heck, even they could throw you in as an emergency quarterback. I mean, I know it's been a minute since you've done it, but I mean, certainly you can do all of that. Going to be a main, key figure on special teams at the next level. But your ability to go out there and execute just you know great overall physicality, toughness on the line, and actually as a receiver as well, establishing yourself in the end zone, being a threat this season as a receiver is going to be quite interesting. So, want to wish you all the best this season and beyond. Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Sure. Once again, I got with me Derek Anderson, tight end out of Northern Iowa. Check him out this season.